Yeah, we've got a little bit of a visual aid. So if you would like to click into Discord, we've got a nice graphic here and some more slides a little later. But otherwise, we'll talk you through them. No big deal. They're just something
Hell
to
yeah.
hold your attention.
And if you got any questions, guys, just write them up in the chat. We'll try and get as many as we can, and maybe you can also come up later on the stage and ask them yourself. We're open to that. It's an open mic, so yeah.
Very good.
Follow along and welcome.
So, Steven, did you want to maybe commence with a recap of kind of where we've, like maybe some of the greatest hits from your perspective, all the way from launch? I mean, some of the audience members have been with us since then, but many others have discovered us along the way. So maybe we can sort of contextualize, like what we've, like kind of where we're at, real quick, and then we can sort of present the next path forward.
Hell yeah. So, to recap a few things, I guess, Aurelius launched back in February 8th to be exact, as the first chapter for us, and it's been a great launch. We've been since then on Mantle, and we've also gotten like a 250k grant for them, which we have been using for incentives all the way, and it has worked out great. After that, one of the also biggest hits that's still ongoing and is related to Equestical's question is the Soul campaign, which launched a month later. You know, our point system, which we've been tracking all of your guys' contributions to the platform. After that, we had a big inflow, well, kind of bigger inflow of capital, and we've reached 1 million TVL right away, actually, 2 days after, on March 8th. So, a day after, we introduced METH as well, March 9th, and after that, like, market size grows even more. It's all organic. It's all here from Mantle, like participants that gotten to know us from all across the servers that we're in. And after a few days, we've gotten and started a new thing, a new trend, I guess, with our communications, marketing. Maybe we starting using a bit of the Quest platforms to try and engage the community more, to reward our existing community members that have been with us since the beginning and that have come along from Mantle as well. So we launched our first Zeely campaign on March the 14th, and we've been going strong so far. We just finished our fourth one, to be honest, and like participants number has been on the rise. We've had somewhere around 650 participants in total. Has been great. We've given out like over 5-6k USD dollars of amount of MNT, WMNT to be exact. And after that, we've also tried a Galaxy campaign, which went great as well. We tried to like spread it out a bit, and that was back in May. We do like, gotta say, I'm maybe biased, but we do like Zeely more, as it gives us more flexibility in quests, and it's kind of more engaging, to be honest, and easier to use. Zeely for the win. Hell yeah, Helper. Helper's one of you. So that was like a quick recap of what we've done, where we're at, and in the present, we've got like over 5 million in total market size. So we've grown from that 1 to 5 million. And we have now 5 assets to mint AUSD against. And that list probably will grow in the future. We've got 8 assets on the lending market to be used and lent. And that also will probably be growing in the near future. We've got over 1 million AUSD in circulating supply, which is a huge hit, and we're basically the number 1 CDP on Mantle. So that's pretty awesome. And now we are one of the starting 12 partnering protocols with Mantle to be on the CMETH powder campaign, and we've integrated METH in the lending market for you guys to earn 20 powder, just because that's how much Mantle gives out for lending markets, for money markets. And we are also getting, well, you guys are getting powder if you mint AUSD against your METH as well, which is a pretty big deal, if you ask me, and a pretty big thing. So stacking up that powder, stacking up that salt, you've got it all here, we've got it all here, and we're just gonna grow more and more. We want to focus on community more as well going forward. There will be a few like changes in there, and we'll be looking to like activating you guys even more. So thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for being with us. And I want to kind of hand it over to Samson if he has something to add to this, and maybe like talk about what's coming in the future.
No, nothing to add, guys. I think that's it. I think we're all finished now. Thanks for coming. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
see you around.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a really, really steady organic growth. And, it's been fantastic to introduce, for some of us, it's not the first time of using this technology. For those of us that have used Ethos on Optimism, you might be familiar with how ERN works and how the AUSD system is just so much better than the Ethos system. The fact that we do have a much stronger peg, a much bigger market variety of assets, users are responding really well. We think we're heading the right direction. I'm just seeing a comment I want to address real quick in the chat from Caesar here, saying that front end is not showing powder from mints. Yeah, understood. We are working on. It's tough because I've been telling you guys this is new front end coming, but it still hasn't landed. But once that front end's out, we will be able to iterate much quicker and get this stuff really locked down. But there is a dashboard that I'll find the link for you in a moment, where you can see the current powder that you've stacked up, and we can also have it so that when you click on that, or when you hover on the powder on our website, you can click through to it. So it's like a nice, easy way to get there in the future. But rest assured, I did some testing, and AUSD is earning. Thanks, Steven, for linking that. AUSD's METH supply, or like AUSD minted from METH, is earning that powder. So really fantastic that the team at Mantle has included Aurelius. We really want to get AUSD like METH pools earning that 40 powder. I'm trying to like cut through and show them how supporting AUSD is going to create way more growth for Mantle than getting a bit more USDT or USDE liquidity. Of course, you need these things too, right? But yeah, it is like an exciting campaign. It's fantastic to be included so far, and yeah, I mean, Caesar, it seems like you're going really well with your powder stacking so far. There should be a rank as well. There's like a leaderboard that you can see where you are. It's a really nice system. And again, it reminds me of why we like Mantle a lot. Everything they produce is just really high quality. At the end of the day, their dashboard, works really well. The whole system, it's been really nice. And yeah, hopefully we can continue to push AUSD forward and get a deeper integration into this campaign, especially in the second leg. So, let's talk a little bit about that assets comment. So you mentioned there's 5 assets that you can mint AUSD from, and there's 8 on the market. We'll probably bring that up to parity soon because we have a new version of the AUSD technology that can allow for interest-bearing assets. It's quite different, and some people may not like it. It is not the same as the zero interest loan. It will actually be essentially like a second module using the same AUSD token, but we will be running in synchronous one pool of METH that has zero interest with a cap, and one pool that charges an interest but with no cap. And the reason why it charges interest is to balance out the leverage that METH, especially an uncapped METH, would it would basically destroy our price chart for a while, and
Mm,
maybe
yeah.
destroy some people's confidence. So that's why we have these kind of throttlers in place, and the charging of interest will basically allow us to like take all of that LST yield and even other things like USDY. So like think about all the RWAs that are going to come to Mantle. Is one of our bull case is that Mantle is going to use their treasury here, right? So we're just really trying to create the ultimate treasury weapon for Mantle and for any other person that wants to be like Mantle and sort of mirror their treasury stack. You'll always find value here at Aurelius because we're designing to kind of meet their needs as best as we can. So in the future, I see us having 8 assets to mint AUSD against. That would include a new version of METH uncapped. We would include CMETH uncapped. They will launch with a cap, but that's only just to make sure that it's working. Like
Mm,
we'll of course we're not that it's working, but that we're not taking it on too quick and making sure that you know the market effect is as we expected, I suppose. So um, they will eventually be uncapped. And yeah, we're really excited. I think that will unlock the next tier of AUSD growth. So METH, CMETH, and then there's another asset coming, and you may have heard of this one. It's called FBTC. It's basically a new Bitcoin that's coming to Mantle. They're one of the largest investors in this product, as I understand, and they'll be bringing a lot of their firepower to the network. And I've even been told that it will have yield, like there'll be a yield bearing derivative of it. So that yield bearing derivative will be what we want in, like imagine being able to deposit your yield bearing Bitcoin and then borrowing a very low interest. I mean, the interest would be variable depending on how much leverage is in the system. So this is one of the things that we will have to learn together as a community and figure out how it works. But we do have the possibility in the future to, for example, I think it's like one of the best reasons that you could mint AUSD from METH today is that there is a cap and you're essentially locking down a zero interest loan against an interest bearing asset. It's one of the better DeFi loans that you could get today, and there is a cap. So I do sort of see a value in having both because users can sort of pick and choose, or like I hope there is like some acknowledgement of that opportunity and that it gets like the market like fills that opportunity up basically because it's a limited time opportunity. Zero interest against METH. It's not going to be something that everyone gets. So just wanted to kind of highlight that to you all. I'm just reading this comment here from Grand Tonto. MO is often a dump. Just sit there. Yeah, it's a really good point that you're making here, Tonto. Like Bitcoin's great, right? Because like it adds a lot of supply, but a lot of the time, like no one wants to borrow Bitcoin. Like especially if you're bullish on Bitcoin going up, why would you borrow something that's going to go up better than your deposited asset? Let's say. I mean, people do whatever financial strategy they wish. Not financial advice, but one of our challenges as a protocol is how do we make that liquidity valuable to the protocol? And so, how do we get it so that people are borrowing that Bitcoin or otherwise, taking advantage of it, I suppose. And this is why uh, our our new module is actually better because we will be able to take an interest on that Bitcoin no matter what. Is the powder the same for my supplied as for AUSD positions?
yes.
Yes. Yes, it is the same. So METH in the system in Aurelius is 20x per METH. So that's the same everywhere. It's kind of convenient for now in that way. Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. We're really looking forward to these new assets. We think this will be, if you look around DeFi right now, so much speculation around Pendle, LRTs, and all these other things. But The only like Pendle thing on Mantle is USDE. So, Mantle having the foresight to go real hard on Athena, I think it's really exciting. It's great to be, on the network with that activity. Um, but we kind of feel like we missed out on a lot of the LRT action, to be honest. So much of this liquidity is like on linear, so much of it is on
Mm.
mode, like whatever. Like there are so many other places to take your Ethereum right now. It's quite competitive, and Mantle's kind of been a bit behind. I don't really have any insights as to why they haven't like focused on getting Renzo or Help or these other providers on the network. I'm of the opinion that competition would ultimately create a better economy. But liquidity is expensive, and it's nice to have your own market. So I can appreciate their decision to say, you know what, we just want to focus on CMETH first, and we want to get CMETH the like embedded into the system, and just focus on, I guess, like their products first. And I can see a future where perhaps it expands, um, because as a blockchain, you kind of want to secure as much value as possible, I guess. But yeah, we're really excited for FBTC. I think that's going to be a really, there is really no Bitcoin action on Mantle and much of DeFi, but that's starting to change. There's names like Babylon that you should be paying attention to if you're keeping up. That is like uh, bringing a new layer of DeFi Bitcoin to the market and introducing some new exciting ways for people to earn. But the challenge as a protocol is how do we make that, how do we make that valuable for like stakers in particular and the protocol? Because we don't really want a ton of Bitcoin coming in and just supplying and diluting everyone. Um, so like Tonto's saying, and it's kind of a blessing that we haven't really had that experience in a way. I one of the things I'm really happy about is that with our current cap of 888 participants for the airdrop, we know that everyone that's been here so far is going to get something, and we know that it's going to like, well, we haven't been overfarmed or overplayed. We've kind of been slept on a little bit. I don't have an exact number at Questicle. I haven't looked today. The last time I looked, we were crossing 700. We are starting to get a bit more explicit about the cap. I'm sorry for whoever will be 889. I really am. But the reality is, like, if you've been here and you've been participating, it'd be hard to not
Yeah.
get there. Like, we're really close to the end, and I guess I can get a bit more explicit now about the like what the end is and where we're heading next. Or maybe it's not the end, but the next step. And that is that AU is not far away. In fact, I was kind of hoping we'd be doing it on the 15th of July. And the reality is we're partnering with some external partners, and with that comes other people's timelines, and that's a little frustrating. In the past, we've done token generation events by ourselves, and they've been really successful. But the amount of work and lift that goes into something like that is honestly quite exceptional. For people that have been following us on Mode with Ironclad, we didn't have a fantastic sale over there with the provider, so we're trying a different angle over here. And that new angle is partnering with actually a brand new technology from a team that we've worked with in the past. It's actually formerly the Olympus DAO developers, who then took that Olympus DAO bond tech and then distributed it through Bond Protocol. We've used their technology in the past. It works really well. And they've now actually created a new system for token generation events. One of the features that they're offering that is a kind of a world first, I mean, people have tried it in the past, is essentially an encrypted like auction. So people can uh, bid on tokens at the price that they wish. And once the minimum is hit past like a period of time, the auction will just sort of go to the lowest minimum bid. So if you were to bid $1, but the clearing price was 20 cents, you would get 5 times more than what you bid, essentially. I think that's how that works. I'll have a really good explanation document and we'll have some good learning materials. But because it is a new technology, we need more time to get everyone ready. The last thing that's like kind of holding us up is just getting, they have these things called curators who are essentially there to help vet the quality and also introduce their audience. So we're just trying to get the right curator so that we have the best chance of breaking into a new audience, or at least getting out of our little bubble here, and trying to get some new people interested in that part of the launch. And after the launch happens, we'll be doing that airdrop. For context, Ironclad's doing their airdrop 4 days after the token launch, because we're wanting the people that have participated in other parts to get a chance to dilute yield first, and then we will get the airdrops out. So maybe we can skip over to the next page, Stephen, and start to look at the tokenomics. I think that's up next. So yeah, I wanted to quickly recap here. Thanks, Stephen. That we've done a bit of an update here on the tokenomics, just trying to get more of the supply out and into the community like as soon as possible. Obviously, being mindful of how many tokens are entering the market, and we have some means of making sure that if people are to take these distributions and immediately dump them, they're at least going to be contributing to the protocol, so that long term we can eventually turn that tide and build enough liquidity that it doesn't really matter. We'll just kind of keep trucking on. But we do want to be generous. You know, there is a lot of highly overinflated material out there. You know, the initial, like, we would rather, and one of the benefits of doing this auction style is that it kind of takes it out of our hands a little bit. But we would rather start low and just build up the success as a community, rather than, you know, trying to overshoot our load and then just getting destroyed. You know, like we need to kind of be real with ourselves. I mean, we're not number one on Mantle, we're number 19. You know, it's unfortunate, because honestly, our technology at Aurelius is so superior. In fact, it's too superior, and we haven't been able to still get the penetration of like millions of dollars of speculation, like beyond. I mean, really proud of what we've achieved, but I suppose like we just, like, it's kind of an illusion with Aurelius, to be honest, because it's so capitally efficient that we're double counting a little bit. You know, like $1 goes from, you put $1 of Mantle in, it creates another 45 cents of value from AUSD with the current backing ratio. You know, if you were then like, basically then we unlock 95 cents of that Mantle and it goes to the lending market. So now we're, you know, getting even more juice into the system. But the point more is, like, once more people realize that the AUSD yield isn't going anywhere because it is just a natural sustainable yield, people will, I think, eventually flow in. And if we can get some speculation from Powder, a bit more, you know, juice from Mantle in that way, like a real like validator for our product would be getting like an METH AUSD Powder, like 40x Powder. That would be insane. So make sure you're tweeting at Mantle, telling them you want it, telling them that they're fools for not putting AUSD up there, given that it is like absolutely the best way to bootstrap the network. It is absolutely the best way to grow the network as quick as possible, and doing our best to try and break that through from them on a BD side. But you know, one of the things they would say to us is that we need to be better at building a community, and I feel like we actually have a lot of the means, and we need to focus our roadmap, which has been very tech heavy, more on discoverability. And that's where we're trending. We are working more on, again, this improved front end. With that improved front end will come a bunch of new features. We've got looping, we've got unlooping, so people can delever their positions if they need. You know, we've got a bunch of new collateral types, as I mentioned, and a bunch of new features. You know, we won't just have AU staking on Aurelius. We will actually have staking on Clio and a bunch of other places too. And one other part of Aurelius is that it has the largest vClio position possible. And if people have been paying attention to the Cleopatra Discord, they recently announced their that they've received another sort of leg of, not even a leg, it's like a brand new grant for them, to be honest, which is super exciting. Um, it's a very well deserved grant. I think I'm super proud of their technology, and hopefully we can just sort of ride the wave up with them. One of the reasons we decided to collaborate really closely with Cleopatra was that we're really proud of their team and we love working with them. And we've done so on other networks, and it's a breeze. So I think it's really well deserved. And ultimately, those crumbs will come down to us, to be honest. I mean, I would love to have a similar enormous success for our own grant there, but ultimately, we do have upside with Clio, and we also want to expand that upside and get on some of these other exchanges, just because AUSD shouldn't be playing that much of a favorite. Obviously, it needs a primary hub, and we will always have incentives and emissions for Cleopatra, but getting AUSD in front of new users is definitely one of our key quarter 3 items. So right now we've been working really hard on getting AUSD on Agni. If you actually look on like CoinGecko or well, I guess CoinGecko is usually where I would go to check the volume of the token being traded. Most of it these days is going through Agni, which is really surprising. I think Cleopatra has adjusted the fees on our pools such that Agni is just way more competitive. Yeah, DeFi Llama is another good call. And yeah, I mean, just getting AUSD in front of more people. I think it is weird that we're not on Merchant Mo, and that was a strategic decision. We wanted to sort of give Cleopatra an edge, starting out, but unfortunately, we just weren't really a big enough catalyst, at least compared to like, the announcement of getting another grant, for example. But the good thing is that we are in position. We are in position on Cleopatra, and we will be in position on Mo. We will be in position for Mancake, although haven't really heard a ton of updates from their end recently. And Fusion X is also intending on putting up a farm for AUSD. I would love people's opinions on what the counter asset of that pool should be. They were suggesting USDC, and I was like, maybe a volatile asset would be kind of a bit better for us. But yeah, leave your suggestions in the forums. If there's a particular asset you want to see more incentives on that we haven't, really like tried LPing against. If you like trading or like LPing against USD, and we're not pouring into something, definitely want to hear from you. Just so that we have a better awareness of what users would actually use. Yeah, Mr. Roy, that'll be a definite AUSD AU pool will be happening. AUSD Puff, that would be very cool, Steven.
Yeah.
I really like, the goal for us is pairing AUSD against as many volatile assets as possible, because once there is positive speculation on those assets, AUSD's supply will have to expand to essentially be arbitraged down back to $1. So it's a great way for us to basically absorb more and more capital into the system itself, is to just basically have AUSD go up with all the tokens. So, our goal isn't to have the most stable token, but instead the token that has the most play. That would be ideal. AUSD Sol, yeah, maybe. You never know. There are ways to get these tokens on chain, and honestly, as a community, we could do that if we wanted to. We could talk to Renzo and bring Renzo and do AUSD, easy ETH,
Easy ETH.
things like that. Like there is nothing stopping us. That's the beauty of permissionless DeFi, in that way, is that we can just message Clio and say, hey, here's the token address, like whitelist this thing. Let's get into it. And, we can make that market. Mantle wouldn't be upset at us. It's just that they're not like starting these conversations for us. So RJK, if you want to be the sole guy on Mantle, we can work on that. That'd be pretty cool.
Mint
So
AUSD
Steve,
against Puff. The liquidations would be beautiful.
yeah, I mean, it comes down to oracles at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So, we would love to, have the most like more variety is kind of a limitation of how do you secure it.
Yeah.
And definitely would love some degeneracy, some amount of degeneracy to enter AUSD, because I mean, let's just quickly talk about that liquidation event that happened like earlier in the week, or last week, I guess, or on the weekend maybe, where
Mm.
for some people it may have been their first actual liquidation event. So you guys should see the tickets in our Discord when one of these happens. Everyone's like, "Hey, what's happened to my money?" It's quite scary, but it just goes to show how many people are just literally depositing money and not even thinking about it, and that means we have a lot of work to do, to be honest. And once they discover when like how it works, usually people are pretty happy. It's a little scary the first time because they're on DBank and they're like, "Hey, I had $6,000 and now it's at 5,000. Like, what happened?" And it's like, "Oh, well, you actually just purchased Mantle at a 20% discount on the candle. So it's already gone down so bad that someone gets liquidated, right? And then you get another discount on top." So if that is like, if you do manage to kind of snipe that bottom liquidation, it can be pretty insane. And then the follow up to that is like, well, okay, I don't really want that, right? So that user may not be interested in purchasing discounted collateral. But once we bring out staked AUSD, then that's kind of like a solved product for them. This is kind of like a nice segue back to how I was mentioning earlier. Aurelius will be not just your leverage platform, but there will also be a level of staking and yield that you'll be able to take advantage of. Because our ultimate goal is to create a system that is self-sufficient, and it is designed to enhance Mantle, basically. So we see our duty to be to offer obviously a compelling and secure product, but then to also participate in the network as positively as possible. And so to me, what that would look like is contributing to these other like exchange economies, contributing to Merchant Mo, contributing to Cleopatra, getting our products liquid on their exchanges. That's what DeFi really is about. So we will be creating a system where over time we're building up perpetual rewards through vCleo, through vMo, vMan, whatever. I'm sure vAgni is going to be a thing. They do kind of tease. Um,
Mm.
they do tease that on their homepage. And one other thing that you guys might not be aware of is T House, the active liquidity manager that's supporting our vaults on, or have made some vaults for AUSD on Agni. They also have a points program. So if you're in there, you're actually earning points in their system too, which is pretty cool. I've kind of failed to mention that in the announcement. So I was going to follow up and kind of unveil a bit more details about why this is a really exciting opportunity. And we're actually going to do some more with them on Clio next. So Caesar, I'll repeat that real quick. There is a points program on thouse.finance. They have some AUSD vaults. They have this strategy where they essentially deposit capital in like opposite ends of the price of constant of the current price. So they'll put 100% AUSD one tick, maybe not 100%. It might be a bit more spread out than that, but they'll basically concentrate the liquidity really close to the price, but it'll be single side exposure. And when it does buys, it just swaps it over to the other side essentially. Um, and yeah, it's not 100% because obviously they need to maintain some level of exposure to everything, but that's their strategy at the moment. And the METH one is performing pretty well, but you should definitely take it slow, read their documentation. There are times when their vaults go down, just like traditional LPs, so it's not like an only up system. But you do get some Mantle rewards for the next 40 days, and you also get points from them. So it's very cool. Um, just kind of reading Tonto's here regarding the AUSD on exchanges about VE tokens. Are you implying that we'll get rewards? No, I'm implying, Tonto, that those rewards will ensure that there's always a reward for AUSD liquidity on there. So essentially, yes, but not to AU stakers, right? More to the AUSD I mean, we do have that flexibility, I guess, to if we hit like a critical mass, let's say like we get 5% of Clio and we only need to incentivize so much, then we could take that excess and just market by AU, for example, you know, which is kind of what we do with other products. So for a while we had, I think it was like 1.5% of Ramses under oath. And so every week we just market buy, or we were market buying oath back. It was pretty awesome. I think we reclaimed like a lot of oath, um, such that these like tokens like are no brainers for protocols. So assuming the team is good and the tech's good, which we have, I feel like a pretty good barometer on these things now. Um, the VE like economy so far seems to be working from my perspective, but it's still early days. It's hard to know if it will be a forever solution, but that is our goal. Another question here: do you know why some projects have 40 powder but AU gets 20? So the 40x powder is reserved typically for like high risk LPing. So they're kind of giving users that are taking on the impermanent loss of LPing USD ETH or METH, I suppose. Yeah, they're trying to compensate them. As for like why AUSD is not in there, I'm not too sure. It's like, believe me, I've done my best, and like maybe I'm just too short or something, but I'm trying to jump above everyone else and say, hey, like AUSD is honestly insane, and we should be working really hard as a community to propagate it as hard as possible. And a lot of the other builders I talk to are really excited about it. And in fact, like one of the things I've done is I've gone around to pretty much every native project and said, hey, we would love to pair your token against AUSD. That would be the ultimate way for us to get more buy-in, I suppose, from the network. But yeah, working on getting us up to 40x, that would be cool if we could get a very similar arrangement for our liquidity. Yeah, liquidity is important, definitely. So I guess I'll pivot back to the AU tokenomics. Keep the questions coming, guys. But I'll quickly just run down the proposed and the final. So initially, when we unveiled AU, there was 100,000 tokens, but we've kind of decided to standardize this a bit more. So we're going to check on 3 extra zeros. It kind of is, it is what it is. Lower unit cost. Maybe there's some psychology there. I don't really have much to say else other than it'll be nice to be able to look at Aurelius and look at Ironclad and see the relative like valuations, which is exciting. We've reduced the general emissions category from 50% to 35. These tokens are still going to get out, but it's just that we want to get them out through different means. So one of those ways is we're going to increase the allocation to Codex. Codex for us is kind of the end game of discoverability for us. We can kind of position Aurelius at the peak or like at the front of Codex as a solution, just because we know it will be competitive for one, but for two, since it's an MRP or a modular reserve protocol, we also call these things chapters. Since it's a chapter of Codex, it will be given like it's like an integration partner, and this is almost like the fee for all of the access and the opportunity of technology and the discoverability. That's how we see that. And that 12%, why 12 instead of 10? Over time, originally it was like, let's just get rid of the entire 10% and distribute it out. But we see a world now where we kind of want a perpetual stake from Codex in the system as well. So imagine Codex giving away most or some, and then the rest, it just is another user, but it's not dumping any of those rewards. It might just pass them through. Codex, I'll just read out this comment from Tonto here. If Codex works, no one needs to know the name of Aurelius or Ironclad. It could be a giant without people really knowing. Exactly. That's why I'm saying it's like the top of the discoverability funnel for us, to the point where it doesn't really, we're kind of seeing a future where people don't really bother going to DeFi Llama. They just talk to their agent essentially, and the agent will kind of give them that insight, and the agent will say, "Hey, Aurelius kicks ass. You should check it out." And like that's kind of what we're hoping will happen, Tonto, is that, and it's kind of made investing in the front ends a little bit less appealing because we see a world where no one's even using it. But the reality is, that world is far away, and we are investing in both. We need both to be good because one is like a power user and the other is every other user. So uh, yeah, we've increased that allocation to give them more flexibility and give them more power to give away more and also have uh, that perpetual opportunity. So that's the reason why we shifted another 2% there. We also have the POL bucket increasing, so that's going from 5 to 10%. So this is really based around a bunch of things. Since the era of LBPs, like when we initially were planning AU and we put out this article, the game plan was actually to launch AU on Ethereum first. We were going to launch it as a Ethereum token as an LBP, and it would be bridgeable, and it would also be like we would make two tokens basically, one on Mantle, one on ETH, and the reason why we wanted to do that is because we wanted to give Ethereum investors, where arguably the most money is, I mean, not even arguably, just look at DeFi Llama. We wanted to get the most access to capital, especially at the time. Mantle was big, but it's in a much better position now. But what's more importantly changed is that the LBP narrative has sort of slowed down. They're kind of not going very well at the moment, so it's kind of had to change our strategy a bit. And where we've landed on, like, how can we make it such that it doesn't really matter is kind of our goal. And the answer is we just need to have a bit more, we need to build on a longer timeline, like a really core pool of liquidity that is owned by the protocol such that it won't sell when it goes up, and it won't, like, it'll be able to absorb a lot of that liquidity. So, or a lot of that, yeah, I mean, the more liquidity we can absorb, the more effective our option token will be. So I know I'm introducing a lot of concepts here today that maybe some of you haven't heard of before. So feel free to keep asking questions in the comments, and we can go through each of these things a bit and follow it up with more details and blogs which are planned. But there will be an option token similar to Ironclad if people have been following that one. And the result of that option token is that as people are selling their emissions and selling their airdrops, or I guess not selling, but purchasing the tokens at a discount, which is what the option coupon allows you to do, that counter asset will make its way to the treasury. And the treasury will then pair it with its own AU tokens to then dilute the market rate essentially. So that over time, our LPs, so like if you're like, if you want to farm AUSD AU, we don't really want the option token people to just take all your money, So the idea here is by giving Aurelius its own money, by giving Aurelius its own liquidity and counter assets through the option token and through this POL bucket, we can essentially build our own pool that, it will remove the like shift the burden of liquidity off of the users, which is normally how these things work. Is that, to incentivize liquidity, we would just put up some emissions and give away some, some sort of reward. And we want to create a system where we're not really having to ask that of people so much unless they really want to. And yeah, increasing the POL bucket is going to allow for a bigger bucket of protocol liquidity essentially, which means more people can buy the token. It means more people can sell the token. And within that, I've also included bonding and treasury swaps just so that we have a bit more flexibility. So Access Protocol, as I mentioned earlier, if you were here in the call earlier, they have also created Bond Protocol. And Bond is a great way for the Treasury to diversify its asset holdings in a similar fashion. So we can essentially sell AU tokens on a bonding curve and give users an opportunity to purchase tokens with a slight vest. And we will use these means, so bonding, treasury swaps, and option tokens, to create the liquidity landscape over time, such that Aurelius can just keep absorbing those hits. So the next one is the strategic partnerships. We bumped that up from 8 to 10%. That's just so that we can basically try and get Mantle in bed with us, trying to give them some more cheddar, working real hard on that, and everyone else around that. You know, there's a lot of work to just make sure that the network is aligned um, with with the upside there. Increasing initial distribution. This is a really exciting one. So basically, initially we were going to do a 5% distribution of the initial token or of the token, but given how we are 19th on the ladder, it sort of made sense that we just gave everyone way more to, like, at least reward everyone that stuck with us. I mean, you could have farmed, you know, like the fifth on the ladder, but instead you're with us, and that matters a lot to us. It also feels right to be more generous right now and to give more out to the community. But ultimately, the reason why we like it is because it will be distributed as an option token. So it's not like we're just giving away like it's not like we're just giving away a ton of tokens. We're giving away a ton of coupons to purchase the token. And those coupons are indefinite. So people can hold on to them and wait, 3 months and then redeem. That's funny, Coop. Um, they can then redeem later, once once they're ready to purchase. That's not a timed thing. But essentially because of that function, we feel like it's actually beneficial to get as many of these things out at the start, so that, well, first of all, you do have the opportunity to redeem, a quarter of it or whatever, and then wait a little longer. Everyone will have their own strategy, but it's all to say that by giving away more, you will all have the flexibility to, stake some, do whatever. So hopefully we can create, and our plan is to try and build the most beautiful staking solution on Mantle so far, by giving away more and by focusing everything into that same system that some of you from Ironclad will be familiar with. We're hoping that AU can be a really great way to get exposure to the Mantle ecosystem. We're also going to give some to the Mantle reward station. So all up, there's actually 13% of the tokens will be just distributed to the community. O tokens are transferable, yes. So you will be able to send them to other wallets. There won't be a market so much though, Tonto. So like you'll have to, like, I'm sure there'll be like a secondary market. Maybe we'll even have a channel in our Discord where people can offer to buy in and swap. Yeah, broker. Apologies. I hope that, play it safe. You can always like use us as a third party if you need. No big deal. But yeah, they are transferable. So yeah, if you don't want to actually redeem, you can just sell them at whatever price you're happy with. And we will only be launching with one redemption path, but in the future there will be others. So one of the paths that we're working on is, for example, instead of like just being able to essentially turn your option token into like a vested position that's staked, so that you don't have to pay anything, but you just essentially dilute the staked yield and you're on a vest. So things like that, we'll try and build up other opportunities and other pathways over time. But on launch, we actually want to focus on absorbing as much Mantle as possible to pair against AU. So just like with Ironclad, where they're taking the mode token, which is the network token. We'll be taking the network token of Mantle as our option token counter asset. And then that might change in the future too. Like we could take AUSD or staked AUSD to just diversify the treasury holdings even further. So back to the Mantle reward station, there's about, I don't know, it's like $100 million or something in there, something crazy, from 16,000 users, which is, definitely much larger than our current audience, Uh, so we want to get some AU in their hands too, or option AU. And ultimately, we think this is good for exposure more than anything else. It's a bit of an advertisement, but it is an option to purchase. So we'll just have to roll with it. Hopefully, they're not all down bad and needing to improve their situations that bad. But we think it's a really good opportunity to connect with their audience, and we're actually going to split it over 4 times. And the reason why we're going to do that is so that Mantle advertises us 4 separate times. Which seems like, why would you give it to them all in one hit when we can sort of spread it out over so many, and like they'll run it every time. So yeah, we can kind of get 4 hits from the one sort of allocation. And the last distribution will be the Cook airdrop. So this is something that didn't exist in our initial plan. Same with the Mantle reward station. So we wanted to create some amount of upside for this campaign, kind of give back and try and get some of that speculation. I mean, the ideal would be that we could get Puff or something, or CME, or get get that community more wound up with Aurelius. But giving them another airdrop allocation of 1% just to help get it out to another round of users, and ideally they bring their assets to Aurelius after. We do have a team allocation. We've actually reduced it from 12 to 10%. That's just to help. There's not really much to say about the development allocation other than, it will be staked. That's essentially the portion that will be given to or divested to the Conclave business, and distributed to contributors that worked on it, or otherwise it could be used as like a buffer on strategic partnerships if we need it as well. And the final category is the Launchpad, and this is the access allocation. We did talk about potentially reducing from 10% to say 5% or something like that, but we ended up sticking with it because it seemed right that we could kind of give everyone a really good sale deal. Like, we do want to get a lot of the protocol out. But that's still to say that our emissions of 35%, we do want that to last around like 8 years. That's kind of the number that is kicked around frequently. It's something that, like, if we're doing a good job, like, that supply will just continuously kind of refill. We're big fans of using the protocol revenue to purchase back the token as a means of simplifying the distribution strategy. So hopefully we're like finding good success, and we're able to continuously reinvest those fees to kind of extend that emission runway even further beyond 8 years, such that, yeah, we do have a sustainable and kind of everlasting product. Yeah, super excited by the AUSD yield to date, and the reserve factors have been turned on so that we are earning fees that will be distributed to AU from day one. I think that the combination of those two things will help create hopefully a bit of positive buzz once it launches, and we see some good uptake of people purchasing using their discounts and then coming and trying out the staking module. So one thing I'll inform you all is that we're currently kind of doing the same thing with Ironclad. So keep an eye on Ironclad. Much of the same stuff is happening there. And that's intentional. That's by design. I mean, it's easier to secure, one system. So we are trying to reuse a lot of the same material because, I mean, obviously we're designing it to be the best it can be. And if you want to learn more about some of these things that we haven't that we talked about, like option tokens and staking modules. Ironclad does have a bit more information out about those things and is like a couple weeks ahead of us, to be honest. There are events actually happening on the 15th. So I'm actually a little relieved if we do not make the 15th as our sale date, just because there's already a lot going on in our organization. But that's all to say, I'm really eager to get it out. I'm eager to cut off the salt. We are trying to create a buzz around the salt wars. I'm really sorry again for whoever ends up being 889 in the ranking, but like it's our duty to try and create as much buzz as possible. So we're going to keep doing what we can to get as much interest, but rest assured, like working butts off to cut the salt. No more salt. We're really trying to get there. Tonto is asking another great question here. Are we going to have reliquary? Yes. Yes, we will. It may not be there. Like we may have a non-mature component, but then one will follow. We're kind of, I haven't heard the latest on if they're launching with a relic or not. But it sounds like what you're saying here, they've just got the one module to start, and we'll probably do the same, and eventually have two. Any other questions, guys? Any other comments? Anything from you, Steven? Oh, thank you for clicking over. This is what that looks like in a pie chart. So for those not watching the screen, Steven's ticked over now from a table to a beautiful pie chart.
Yes.
Shout out to Watts.
Beautiful. Watts has been
And
doing great on the design. Shout out. And yeah, I mean, I gotta say, it's all pretty bullish for Aurelius. AUSD, AU, it's all coming together slowly. Salt campaign coming to an end soon. Soon. AU utility Caesar, you're gonna see that what's happening with the ICL on Ironclad if you head over there. And you'll see how the staking module works and all of that. And that would have to be a separate presentation, right, Samson, on how AU staking is going to work, reliquary, and the
we will
utility
have
of
a blog out soon. We're
yeah,
kind of like reskinning those details and getting it all ready so that the Aurelius blog has that information, and we can make a talk about this in the stake. We can kind of dive into the option token again and
yeah.
the staking module next time, and people can ask their questions in the chat. So yeah, we'll try and circulate that this week or next.
There will be
Have a
more firm
productive
statements on
conversation.
that info and spaces coming up and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Thank you everybody for sticking with us. If
There's a
somebody
couple
else
more
wants to
questions, Steven.
jump in,
Caesar is
wanted to say as
asking,
well.
will OAU revenue go to staked AU? No, it will be, the revenue will be like, can you clarify for me what you mean by the revenue? You don't mean the counter asset that's redeemed, right? You're talking about like a fee? Because there is like, the counter asset will go to treasury and then be paired with AU. Yeah, there is a gas fee, but that would go to the network. Come on up, let's do it.
Yeah, Caesar, coming up on stage.
Yeah, I'm always trying to shorthand everything, and it just confuses people. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so when someone exercises O tokens, like the OAU, they have to pay some like discount on the market price, and that's usually the gas token. And what you've said is that it's going to go basically to fund protocol-owned liquidity, right? So
Yeah.
that's my understanding. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then yeah, it's not going to stakers of AU.
No, stakers will get a bunch of other things to start, like the reserve factors and the mint fees from AUSD. So we're going to start with just those two things and see how we go. There'll also be more OAU emissions on top of that. So it ends up being, you're getting like a stream of 4 assets. It'll be Mantle, METH, and OAU and AUSD.
Okay, I understand. Yeah. Okay, that's good. I'm good with that.
So over
That's
time, all of that mantle will be put into Aurelius, or at least like until we hit some sort of critical mass with it. And yeah, we'll just build this big POL bucket on Clio and some of the other exchanges, perhaps, to help kind of give our farmers like less pain.
less price impact. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks
That's
for coming
it
up,
for me.
Suso.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it's
it.
just a little bit easier.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other
Somebody
questions,
else wants to
guys?
come up. Yeah. Somebody else wants to come up as well. Feel free to come up. If not, we'll see if there was anything else that I missed, but I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered everything here from the chat, as I can see. Yeah.
Super excited about Codex, super excited about Aurelius, and Mantle's doing the right things. We hope they notice us a bit more. Hope we can get that AUSD CM ETH. That's kind of what we're kind of honing in on right now, is trying to demonstrate what we're seeing, and giving them the firepower to align their organization better to what we're seeing on the field. So thank you all for the support, and yeah, looking forward to our next session very soon, and praying we can lock down this curator soon and close up Salt and get this thing moving, because we're definitely not wanting to miss this summer push here. It's time to get this thing going and on to the next, I guess, essentially. So peace and love. The future is real bright. Yeah.
The
very cool.
future is real bright. Wish we had the soundboard here.
We should have that. We should have the song play us out. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
When Salt ending? Hopefully soon. Could be as early as 4 days. Could be as early as 11 days. Something like that. Hopefully, doing my best. Yeah, 3 months later. Yeah, kill me. Kill me. Yeah. We got to get out of here. So like, we got to get this Salt thing done. I will say that one thing I've really enjoyed has been the Salt for Swaps. That has been like a really good addition to the Salt campaign. And I feel like, for those that are following the Codex cluster, like, we will be taking these lessons forward and continuing to like iterate and improve. So I can see a future where we may even want to have like a perpetual Salt for Swaps program essentially running, or some sort of wash trading thing that can help. It's honestly the main thing it's helped with, that I'm really happy with, is strengthening the AUSD peg. And that has been a real benefit. Plus, it helps pay for a lot of those incentives these days. So yeah, pretty happy with that one. And we'll keep iterating, keep improving. If you do have suggestions for other ways we can improve it, I wish we had more. Like, I wish we had more concentrated liquidity and stuff. But like, as in Salt for concentrated liquidity would go hard. But we just only have so much capacity, and unfortunately for this one, it's just not gonna happen. But that's all right. We'd rather close this thing up and get AU in your hands. So yeah, I'll finish it on that. Thanks again, everyone, for popping in, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and see you around. Peace out.
Peace out.
Aurelius, the future is real bright. Real bright. There we go.
That was like butter. That was awesome.